Most ridiculous moments on paternity court.
Sounds like you did care about Miss Sales.
I cared about it a little bit, but not too much.
I'm ready. I'm ready for the results now. He kissed me, and then we had sex.
Your fiance described the night she had sex with another person.
Doing the biology, she doing the psychology, you all got
a lock on her phone with her finger.
Right, so how did you use her finger?
She was asleep at the time.
This first case can be titled Double Trouble, as in this trial, both spouses are calling for a petition and a lie detector test to show who is the real dirty liar.
Mr. Rajotte, you claim your wife had an affair while you were away and then got pregnant shortly after. You have no idea if her child is yours because the timing of her sexual encounters with you both is just too close to call. You have petitioned the court for the results of a paternity test and a lie detector test to discover the truth today.
The judge started the trial by asking Mr. Rajotte why he had doubts in the first place.
You know, all of my family and her family all have brown hair, brown eyes, and this child has blonde hair and blue eyes.
Is failing to tell you a foster child, so he doesn't know all of the family. So maybe somebody back from part of his family he doesn't know could have blonde hair, could have blue eyes.
That's an interesting point,
No,
Mr.
you know
Rajotte.
it's
How
true.
do you address that?
My dad actually had brown hair and brown eyes, and so I think it's passed on genetically to my family.
Mr. Rajotte even told the judge about the suspicious timeline of the conception.
From being incarcerated, and I was out for a week, she got pregnant. Well, we only had sex one time the whole time I was home,
And it
so.
only takes one time.
What you're saying is it was a week's time, and she knew within a week she was pregnant?
Within a week's period of
No,
time,
he's
she knew
lying.
she was pregnant.
It was 2 months into the pregnancy before I found out I was pregnant.
Listening to this made the reality judge ask the wife if she had been swindling behind her husband's back.
You ever cheated on your husband?
No, I have not.
That's a lie.
Never talked to nothing inappropriate?
I've spoken to a man, yes, but I have never cheated on my husband. I've never had any sexual nothing.
Mr. Rajotte also mentioned his wife's promiscuous friend, which made the judge act like this.
Another incident, Your Honor, where she had actually went out with one of her friends, and she's one of the most sluttiest women that I've ever seen in my life.
You talking
You
about
ain't
your
right for
wife?
that.
No,
he
my
is
wife's
not talking
friend.
about me.
You know,
I was about to say, hold on, Mr. Rajotte. So you're saying she has a friend that is a little promiscuous?
Yeah.
But when Judge Lauren turned the tables on the husband, he avoided the question.
I'm asking you if you're cheating. Have you cheated on your wife?
In the past, I have.
Many of
You
times.
know,
There's a possibility he has a child by a dirty, that little troll.
that's not true, Your Honor.
That's how I see it.
You
That
doing
you don't
the
got.
biology, she doing the psychology. You all got a whole bunch of
And if you think this biology and psychology run is crazy, then watch what gets revealed next.
At one point, you loved this woman very much.
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Why have you always cheated on me?
Because you do the same thing.
He's a liar. That's why he's always hitting on my family members.
What? Mr. Rajotte, are you
Like I said, a
hitting on
dirty
her
nasty.
family member?
However, after all the drama, the results wound up being like this.
Let's go to the paternity results. The results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and reads as follows. In the case of Rajotte versus King Rajotte, 2-year-old are her father.
This young couple is in court today because the mother of the baby, Kyrie, went to do community service and ended up cheating on her husband.
You say your marriage is on the verge of divorce. Mr. Cohen denied of your 1-year-old son, Kyrie. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Cohen, you say your wife brought another man into your home and had sex with him under your roof.
When the judge asked Mrs. Cohen how she felt about the whole situation, she said this.
He makes it seem like I'm just the only one that's out here cheating when he's the one cheating too. Like, he made me feel like less of a woman when I had our 1-year-old son. I didn't feel pretty, and it just went from there.
All right.
But when the judge asked Mr. Cohen about the baby boy, his response was this.
What are you feeling?
I'm just really hurt right now that we had to come this far to get these answers. I have had lots of doubt about Kyrie, and it will really hurt if that does come back and he's not my child today. It really hurt, and I love my wife, and I want us to be together forever, but I can't get past this if he's not my child today.
Mr. Cohen also confessed that he was equally to blame for the wreckage of his marriage.
Yes, I do take blame of starting our bad marriage off. I wasn't ready to be a father or a husband, and I wanted to do everything my friends was doing. It wasn't the best choice, which led us here today.
What happened next was sort of creepy.
Her phone was locked. She had a passcode on it. So she was asleep at the time, and I put her finger on the phone. I decided to check messages, photos, everything. It's not cheating no more. We're about to be happy. I was about to lock the phone.
And if you thought that was awkward, then Mrs. Cohen's next statement is just gonna leave you confused.
Cohen, who was this other guy and how did you end up cheating with him?
We were on a break. He went to go stay with one of his family members.
Is he doing that voluntarily?
When we took our lunch break, he came back to the house and we had sex. But I was already pregnant and he knew that I was already pregnant. We just broke up.
But we were not having sex, Your Honor. Breakup, which was in April during her.
And I had sex with him in May, so that's impossible for him to be my child's father.
But just so you know, the cheating cycle didn't end there, as Mr. Cohen kept doing whatever he wanted to do with other people, even after he had gotten back with his wife.
Boy, we was having sex every day. We was having sex every day, like literally, like 2 times a day, even when he got off work. Even when he would get off work, like 6 o'clock in the morning.
But if your husband's testimony is correct and you weren't having sex in April, and Kyrie was born on January 5th, when you count back, January, 9 months, that goes back to the period of time when he says you weren't having sex.
So after showing the evidence and having the doctor brought in to discuss Mr. Cohen's diabetes, the paternal result showed this.
Case of Cohen versus Cohen. When it comes to 15-month-old Kyrie Cohen, it has been determined by this court. You are the father.
Oh my gosh.
Lying can tear down a relationship, and it can also lead someone to the arms of another. And that is exactly what hit these fiancés.
Claim you made the biggest mistake of your life by signing the birth certificate for 2-month-old Sophia. Say your fiance dropped a bomb on you just 1 month ago and admitted you may not father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Even right at the start of the proceedings, Mr. Fisher told the court what he felt about both women in his life.
I love Sophia to death. They're my world, but she lied to me. She kept the truth from me, and it kills me. I hope I am Sophia's father. I love her to death. That's my baby.
So you say you love her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you tell me what you feel?
Sorrow, pain, it all hurts.
Because for the first month this baby's life, so that brand new feeling of being a dad was just ripped from you.
Right down the middle.
While Miss Doyle was sure that Mr. Fisher was the father, she still wanted the results, as she wanted to end her man's agony.
He is the father. I know 100%. He was there through the whole pregnancy, supports our family. He runs my baths, he cooks my food, he cleans our house. A great father. Gets up at night and helps me with her. He's a very loving father and a very loving fiance. And I just want to move forward with him, and I hope that finds out that she is his, that's what's going to happen.
As the trial went forward, we got to know how this young couple met and fell in love with each other.
How did you fall in love with her?
When me and one of her family members met, we became best friends. Like, we was close like this. He took me around her, and I just fell for her. Ever since then, I've loved her eyes, amazing, and she treats me like a man wanted to be treated, all the way up until this happened.
So you decide to settle down,
Yes.
and you had this beautiful relationship.
Though their story had us in tears, their veer made our jaws drop.
Had texted me. So I go back to his camper with him and we talked about it, and then he kissed me and then we had sex.
Your fiance described the night she had sex with another person. And you knew nothing about this until after Sophia was born.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Fisher even told the court how Sophia's conception changed his life.
Miss Doyle was pregnant. Take me to that day.
The day that I found out she was pregnant, she had threw up like 3 or 4 times because she was feeling sick. We purchased the pregnancy tests, went back to the house. She took them. One had a faint line, and then one had both lines. And I was happy. That was the best day of my life.
What's worse than seeing a young man standing all ripped up? Well, it's watching him break up piece by piece as the evidence is presented in court. that's what.
The window of conception would be between April 19th to April 26th for a child born on January 15th.
Yes, Your Honor.
And those dates are pretty much right in the window of time you were on vacation in Florida and had sex with the other guy.
Yes, Your Honor.
So after all that heavy unfolding of events, the DNA result acted as a silver lining to their dark cloud.
In the case of Fisher versus Doyle, when it comes to 2-month-old Sophia Fisher, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Fisher, you are the father.
In this case, Mr. Jackson is refusing to father his mistress's daughter, saying that she's just trying to pin her daughter on him.
Miss Sales, you claim that you and the defendant, Mr. Jackson, were in a serious relationship and it was his idea to have a baby. But now that your 3-year-old daughter, Micaiah, is here, he denies being her father. You want him to step up and take care of his daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
But Miss Sales claimed otherwise.
I was with D'Amico for 5 years. We were in a relationship. We had our baby, and now because he sits up and talks to his family, now he feels like that is not his child. Since the day my daughter was born, because she was light-skinned with gray eyes, that was not his child because I'm too dark to have a light-skinned baby.
And when Judge Lauren asked Mr. Jackson about their dynamic, he said this.
She said you were in a 5-year relationship. Is that true?
No, ma'am.
What were you doing?
You know, she was like my side woman.
So it's your testimony you weren't in a relationship at all.
I mean, we had a relationship, but it wasn't serious. You know, we was just, you know.
How was we not in a relationship?
It was more of, you know, she had great sex.
Even after listening to the man's side woman's excuse, Miss Sales was convinced that Mr. Jackson was in love with her.
He came to my house every single day. He lived at my house every single day.
But, you know, regardless, you could still make a baby even though she might have been your side woman. I mean, none of that prevents you from becoming a father.
Yes, but I wasn't the only man that was smashing it.
After listening to the unusual entanglement, the judge asked how they got pregnant, to which they both responded like this.
This woman who you say is your side woman is pregnant. When did you find that out?
I found out Miss Sales was pregnant, what was that, I say August, a month later, something like that.
We had sex at the hospital that same night and would have sex every day on the regular. So, of course, it wasn't that hard for me to conceive within the next week or two by him.
Mr. Jackson went to the end to describe the timeline of the conception to the judge to get out of the paternity claim.
So you actually submitted a calendar to the court to outline your doubt as it relates to the timeline.
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
step up to the monitor, please?
I broke up with Miss Sales June. I got back with my ex July. We went to the hospital in August to check about her uterus because she had problems.
From June, when you broke up with Miss Sales, all the way in July, nor in August,
Yes, Your Honor.
nor in September.
Judge Lauren even called up a witness, but that gave rise to another round of charades that left the judge in fits of laughter.
D'Amico called me crying one night because he said Ashley admitted to him that she had slept with a light-skinned dude with dreads, and there's a possibility that Micaiah might not be his.
Sounds like you did care about Miss Sales.
I cared about it a little bit, but not too much.
What are you
man.
saying?
Come on,
That's why you left your ex to come be with me. What are you talking about? I'm ready. I'm ready for the results now.
But now, it was time for results.
In the case of Sales versus Jackson, when it comes to 3-year-old Micaiah Jackson, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Jackson, you are the father.
Now I know who my baby daddy is.
Miss Hall had been juggling 2 men her whole life, and that is what brought her to paternity court.
Mr. Elliott, you say you do not believe you are the father of Miss Hall's son because at the time he was conceived, Miss Hall was in a relationship with another man and later gave her child his last name.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Miss Hall, you admit you have no idea who fathered your son.
Yes, ma'am.
Following the initial statement, the judge allowed Mr. Elliott to testify against Miss Hall.
How did you come to doubt this baby was your biological child?
I met Amanda probably about 13 years ago. Say I was friends with Amanda's boyfriend at the time, and after about 8 years, they started fighting and stuff a lot, and she came to me. When we started talking, we started to get together. After we'd get into an arguments and fight, she'd go back to his house.
But Miss Hall was not ready to take any blame.
Your Honor, when when somebody fights with you so much to the point where you just have to.
I mean, we'd sit there and argue. She'd pick arguments about stuff. We'd argue, and it seemed like she'd argue just so she could leave to go back to his house.
However, now it seemed like Mr. Elliott had grown out of his old charm, so he bounced off every statement like a selfish claim.
You felt like you were in a relationship with her, but she'd start an argument and then pick a fight and then make the fight so big she'd have reason to walk out and go back to her ex's house.
Yeah, because I'd tell her to go ahead and go when I didn't want to deal with the situation. At the time, I was done with it, but I really didn't mean I was done with the relationship. I didn't really think she'd just go back to him.
But you said
So, was the blonde woman ashamed of what she did? Well, not at all.
Miss Hall, did you go back to your ex?
I sure did.
Were you intimate with him when you went back?
Sometimes yes, Your Honor, and sometimes no.
After this came the question of conception.
Let me get to this period of conception when Noah was conceived.
She got pregnant, okay?
Okay.
And we decided we was going to be together after they split up, and we broke up, and she went back to live at his house again.
So when this time of conception, you're admitting, Miss Hall, that you slept with Mr. Elliott and your ex?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Miss Hall even told the judge how truthful she had been throughout the relationship.
I was honest with him from the get-go. He knew who I was before we was even together. He knew.
When you say he knew who you were, tell me, what do you mean by that?
Well, I was with him and the other guy. He knew that before he even started a relationship with me.
And you have to listen to how the judge summarized the whole thing.
Her position is you knew this going in.
Yes,
now,
he did.
Correct me when I'm wrong, because I want to understand. I love you for this reason. I love him for this reason. So if you want to be with me, I want to be with you, but don't be mad if I also want to be with him sometimes. Is that what you pretty much told him?
When Miss Hall got a chance to defend herself, she said this.
If he wouldn't have pushed me to do this, I wouldn't have.
The arguing or what he's doing, I mean, it sounds like it's just an excuse.
No, it's not an excuse, Your Honor. You could trust me. You
Give me a
would
reason to trust you. If you'd stay with me and didn't go back, then everything would work out.
I wouldn't go back if you wouldn't be such an to.
So, after the first, we got to the ritual conception calendar part. And boy, was it not pretty.
The date you slept with Mr. Elliott. And then in green, you have the date you slept with your ex. Circled in blue would be the estimated time of conception.
I think the baby looks like Mr. Elliott a lot more than I do the other guy because he has the forehead. Look at him. I mean, he has the forehead, eyelashes. Max has a Facebook picture on Facebook and they both look just alike.
However, the DNA result brought an end to the whole confusion.
In the case of Elliott versus Hall, when it comes to 10-month-old Noah Grooms, Mr. Elliott, you are not father.